There's not a lot of time left to prep. Hi there, this is Linda from Let's Talk Prepping. And even though I say there's not a lot of time left to prep, there is time. Now, there are many reasons to prep, but I just want to talk about one, the food supply. We could talk about the possibility of World War III, cyber attacks, nuclear attacks, collapse of the dollar, which is something I do want to do a whole video on because it's that important. But we can't be sure if any of these events are going to occur, and if they do occur, when. But I can say with almost absolute certainty there will be food shortages starting this summer, if not before. How bad will they be? We don't know. But let's look at all that's going on, and you can be almost sure there are going to be some food shortages. Now, in the U.S., maybe it won't be that bad, we don't know. But across Europe and Asia and Africa, they're predicting almost famine. So we should be prepping right now. We should be worrying about this. Right now we have the bird flu. Depending upon how many birds they kill off, and they've killed off 13 million so far, there might not be any chickens or turkeys or eggs. And if there are turkeys and chickens and eggs, the price will probably be astronomical. We know a third of the wheat comes from Russia and Ukraine, and it hasn't been grown or it isn't going to be shipped. Vegetable oils come from that area. The fertilizer prices are going through the roof. There's still a drought, and a big drought in the West and the Midwest. We're expecting coffee shortages from Brazil. And we all know about the move to keep us from eating meat and having us eat bugs and artificial meats that, can we even call them meat when they're artificial meats? So even if you believe that the food shortage won't affect you, you're going to have to admit prices are going to go through the roof. So even if there aren't that many food shortages, or it's not as bad as you think, prices are going to go wild, I guess I would say. If you look at the gasoline prices, the diesel prices, which farmers use and trucks use to move supplies, and the fertilizer prices, these are all combining to accelerate food prices. So let me look at just a couple of things here for you, and I think that will help explain where we're going and why you should be prepping as much as possible right this minute. Here we are over at cnet.com, and it says bird flu outbreak. What the avian influenza epidemic is doing to chicken prices isn't pretty. And if we go over here, NPR says avian flu is infecting U.S. poultry flocks. It could affect the price of chicken too. And then if we just scroll down here a little bit, the price of chicken breasts this week averaged $3.63 a pound at U.S. supermarkets, up from $3.01 a week earlier. So that's 62 cents in a week, and $2.42 this time last year. So that's over $1 more, and this is the agricultural department is saying that. And this is March 26th. And then fertilizer prices from agfacts.com. So fertilizer price records continue. Farm inflation, fertilizer, food, and equipment manufacturing. Fertilizer trends, prices keep soaring, setting new records. Fertilizer prices break new records. Fertilizer prices hit new highs. And these are all, here's March 28th, March 29th. And I want you to just look at this chart. This is ycharts.com. And it says it's for February 2022, but over here it was last updated March 3rd. So maybe it just goes by the month and we have to wait till April to get the March figures. But you can see this is the fertilizer, how it goes up. And what I really wanted to look at, in February it was $196.86. And if you go down here, in January of 2021, it was only $82.96. So that's over twice as much now. And if you go down here, 2020, 2019, 2018, it was always around 78, 80, $75, $70, 66, and it's jumped to 196. It was a 208 at one point. So I just wanted you to see what's happened with the fertilizer price. And this is the index. And then this is important. This is from Dave Hodges, thecommonsenseshow.com. thecommonsenseshow.com. Globalists have just delivered multiple food shortage famine warnings. Operation Starvation has gone live on March 28th. And the CSS has repeatedly warned America to store as much as they could, and now we have arrived at the witching hour. One of the primary methods that a dictatorial regime controls its population is through control of its food supply. And then the dictator employs a carrot and stick approach, in which good people eat and the non-compliant starve to death. And as we go down here a little bit further, there are a couple videos here. I really haven't watched them. And he mentions Bill Gates. He says that the West must shift to synthetic beef to fight climate change. And the World Economic Forum will be able to bring their prescribed diet for Americans, consisting of fake lab meat, aquatics, plants, and bugs. This will accomplish two goals for not only for the World Economic Forum, but also the World Health Organization and Big Pharma. It says with the new prescribed diet, humans will perpetually be sick. This will allow the medical industrial complex to make a lot of money on humanity. Food riots and ultimately food wars are coming. Now, again, maybe in some other countries, maybe here, it's going to depend upon how severe the shortages are. But I can tell you the price is going to go way up. He says reported food inflation was listed as 7.9% last month. However, when we employ the same CPI measures of inflation that were used in 1982, the real inflation rate is 17%. And the food inflation rate, along with rent inflation, is nearing 20%. The numbers do not matter. Americans are experiencing the catastrophic effect of the inflation rate. Precise numbers of the present inflation crisis aren't as important as the pain and suffering that is intentionally being inflicted on all Americans. Now, millions of Americans are now feeling the squeeze. And historically, they've used food as a weapon. And he goes through here and talks about different times when food was used as a weapon. If you're interested, you can come look at that. And again, it's thecommonsenseshow.com. He does mention, if you thought that you and Fido were going to get through the coming food crisis by storing and consuming dog food, think again. How will farmers maintain the nation's food supply when all the fertilizer, their farm equipment, and all of their vehicles are under control of one power-hungry president? Hyperinflation and the deliberate and total collapse of the food supply chain. And he talks about at one time, the American dollar was backed through the practice of the petrodollar. And I'm going to go through a whole video on that because it's really important on what is coming. And I think where he ends here is really important. You cannot survive without food and water. Do not trust the Biden administration to help your family in a crisis. So you cannot survive without food and water. Don't trust the government, basically. So that's about it for today. I really want to thank you all for listening. And please comment if you have any comments, like the video, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And I will be doing a video very shortly on the possible collapse of the dollar and what it means if we're no longer the petrodollar. Thanks for watching.